Oh, well, big weekend here in San Francisco. But I'm not here to talk about the weekend. I'm here to talk about the methane emissions that have newly been discovered. It turns out that the methane... Oh, so this is a big weekend here in San Francisco. The Gay Freedom Day parade and activities are going on. So we're going to do our video inside where it's not so crowded outside. We did try it and it just didn't work. Okay, what we're going to discuss today is methane updates. We have some updates on what's happening with methane, but we're going to have to go over the board. So there's been studies off and on throughout the years, since about 2014 and on, about the methane plumes in the Atlantic Ocean. So a group of underwater divers went down, scientists, and found many methane plumes and even some carbon dioxide plumes pouring up from the bottom of the ocean. Now, most of this methane was absorbed by the water, but some of it is making it up into the atmosphere. So the biggest plumes they found were between North Carolina Cape Hatteras and Massachusetts Georgia's Bank. Massachusetts Georgia Bank. That's a hard one to say. Massachusetts. Who named? Well, anyway. But that's not the only place they're finding methane plumes now that weren't there before. So another group of scientists studied the oil and gas industry here in the U.S. and found that 13 metric tons of methane a year are escaping from these gas and oil businesses. They actually are seeing plumes of natural gas escaping. Now, don't forget that natural gas is mostly just methane with a few other compounds mixed in. One of them is added so it has smell, so that you know that there's a leak. So this is 60% more than the U.S. EPA estimated just back 10 years ago. So U.S. industry alone emits over 13 million tons of methane each year. You know, when the oil and gas companies heard about this new study, they actually sat up and took notice. And you know why? Yes, because it involves money. How much money are they losing by these huge methane plumes around all these drill heads? Let's go look at the board and see. So the oil and gas companies are losing $2 billion every year in methane leaks from their drilling and processing plants. So many of the companies have started working on correcting methane leaks and trying to recover this lost gas. So over a 20-year time span, methane has more than 80 times the warming impact than CO2 does. Once those 20 years are passed, methane has pretty much turned mostly into carbon dioxide, CO2, and water vapor. So even though it is no longer CO2, it is still a greenhouse gas. So the IEA estimates that the worldwide emissions can be cut by 75%, giving quite a windfall for oil and gas companies that do recover this lost gas. So let's go over to one more source of methane, and that's cow gas or cattle gas. All sorts of farm animals, sheep, goats, cows, anything that eats grass produces a hell of a lot of methane. So a new study was done, and they found out that the EPA is using old, outdated estimates to figure out how to form regulations. So this new study found that an 8.4% increase in gas emissions and other cattle per year is happening, and a 36.7% increase in emissions from manure itself. That's over 15% larger estimates than the U.S. EPA has told us. So it looks like I've partially injured my knee. So I'm no longer doing these long walks for exercise right now. I'm actually just recovering a little bit. So some of the videos may be more in the studio instead of outside for the next few of them. So I definitely do appreciate the last comments, the ups and downs, and the new subscribers, regardless of whether YouTube shows it or not. Apparently more and more YouTubers are quitting because of the crap that Google has done to YouTube. I sure hope they save the platform before it's too late. So, until next time.